Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another weekly episode of Shadow Space. I am your host, Laura. For all of my returning listeners, I'm sure we're all familiar with each other by now, but welcome back and thank you for tuning into my podcast. It means the world to me that you guys continue to support me through this journey, through this process. I'm really, really appreciative and grateful to you all for tuning back in to this podcast. And most importantly, and hopefully, you guys are also sharing this with your friends, your family, or anybody who may need to hear, some of the topics that we cover here. And then for my new listeners who are not familiar with who I am, my name is Laura. I am your awesome host of this amazing podcast called Shadow Space, which is a space that I wanted to create for all of those people who are on a self-discovery, self-development journey, who may just need to hear more about the process of, working through the shadow, working through just your hidden beliefs and your innermost self in order to transcend some of the things that are perhaps hidden from us and from our consciousness into the forefront, to bring it to the forefront and to bring it to the light. As I like to say, the light cannot exist without the darkness, and the darkness does not exist without the light. So here we are on Shadow Space, and I'm really, really excited about today's topic. Today, I wanted to talk about something a little bit more on the lighter side of things, which is self-love. Self-love has been something that I have been kind of discovering for myself, something that I certainly did not grow up knowing much about. I'm sure, much like you all who are listening, self-love has become quite the buzzword in the last few years. Everybody is on a self-love journey, which is a beautiful thing. I think it's just awesome that we're all so willing to embark on a journey to love ourselves and to give ourselves the things that we may not have received either growing up or may not have received within ourselves or within our partnerships. So I have a few perspectives on self-love, as I always do, as you guys know. So for me, self-love is something that when I first heard it, it sounded kind of cool. It was like, oh yeah, cool. I mean, that's a great concept to give yourself things that you would want to feel, more of, and not necessarily expect that from others. And so the concept of pouring into yourself so that you have enough and you come from enoughness in order to give back to others was quite appealing. And like I said, I didn't grow up with this concept at all. In fact, it was quite the opposite for me. Growing up, I was always taught to give to others and to give more of myself to others, to self-sacrifice, to make others happy. And I don't think that was taught to me in a negative context at all. I don't think that's what, my family intended to teach me. I think it's just the way we were brought up and just the school of mentality back in those days. It was just, you give to others. That's what shows how good of a person you are, what generosity is, and, what you do for your elders, so to speak. And so I grew up with that type of mindset. And so naturally growing up, I did not understand my needs, much less understand that I needed to give to myself first in order to give to others. So again, the concept of just pouring into myself was quite appealing when I started to learn more about self-love. But then as I dove into self-love, I started to realize that it was not so much, at least in my perspective, it wasn't so much about pouring into yourself, but it was also about being honest with yourself and having the courage to do the things that may seem hard, but that are good for you. And for example, having the courage to let go when it's time to move on or evolve out of either a situation, a job, a relationship, or just friendships, or whatever, what have you, just having the courage to make those difficult decisions, and putting your self-worth first, and valuing yourself, honoring yourself enough to be able to make those difficult decisions. And so I came to realize that self-love was a little bit deeper than just doing the fun things and the cool things for yourself. Now, of course, doing those things, the cool, fun things, are also equally important. I think everything in life, right, in moderation and in balance, that's kind of the perspective I drew out of giving myself love, is to still keep in mind that things have to be in balance and at all times, so if you're doing those good things for yourself, you also have to be able to do those difficult things for yourself. It's equally giving yourself love, because staying, for example, in situations that do not serve you, that do not serve your highest good, are not necessarily going to feel good in the long run. No matter how much you want to appease yourself or appease a situation, if it's ultimately not bringing you good, if it's not elevating you in some way, or fulfilling you in some way, or satisfying you in some way, or supporting you in some way, it's still not in your best interest. So therefore, that, making the difficult decision to perhaps let that go is still giving yourself love. In fact, I think that is the truest form of giving yourself love, is knowing when to stay and when to go, and when to engage, when not to engage, doing the things that are always going to be in your best self-interest, right? Now, with that said, it's also important to understand, to keep in mind kind of a very broad perspective on this, because in the example of maybe letting go of, let's say, a relationship, you have to keep in mind that obviously there's two people involved, and always looking out for your best interests may not also be very healthy, because there has to be a level of give and take for both parties, right? But ultimately, I think we all know when something is good for ourselves, when something is healthy for us. We know that. And if that doesn't translate that way, making the difficult decisions to let that go, no matter how long it's been in your life or how comfortable you've been with the situation, is still giving yourself love. So I think I've come to understand self-love in those different perspectives. It's doing the things that feel good, nurturing yourself, pouring into yourself. Yeah, pampering yourself, and, talking highly of yourself, or maybe not highly is not the word I wanted to use, but, watching yourself talk and up-leveling that and empowering yourself. Those are all the feel-good things, right? These are all the things that we can give to ourselves right away, but also scanning and looking within to see where you might be aligned, where you may not be aligned, where you may be misaligned, is still giving yourself love. It's, doing the things that are extremely hard to do on the surface. Those are the things that ultimately lead you to a path of, better for yourself, a path of fulfillment down in the long run, I should say. So I think self-love can be looked at many different ways. And the part that is promoted, obviously, is the pouring into yourself and pampering yourself and, going out, having drinks, having, lunch and taking a trip and doing all the fun frou-frou things. But the other part of that is also looking at your life, doing self-inquiry and taking the inventory of your life to say, where am I misaligned? Where am I aligned? What can I do more of to bring myself, the truest, most ultimate fulfillment that I seek and that I deserve and that I am worthy of? So I have come to really embrace both aspects of self-love, doing the good things for myself that feel good, but also looking at the things that I may have to change, and making those difficult decisions. And they don't always have to be something major, it could just also have to do with your health, and how you take care of yourself. And that's been a huge focus in my life in the last few months, and I should even say in the last couple of years, on and off. It's been a huge focus in my life to just see where I am taking better care of my health. And my health encompasses everything. It's the physical, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual, it's the mental, it's everything, right? And so taking accountability for the part that I play in those areas of my life that may not be completely aligned, that may not feel as good as I want them to feel. And then knowing that, I'm empowered to make those changes if I so choose to. And that's a part of self-love I've come to embrace a lot for myself. Hence the reason why I have created Shadow Space, because I think where we can show ourselves love, right? The purest form of love and the truest form of love is by being honest with ourselves, is by going within and digging deep to say, hey, let me take a look at this part. It may not feel good. It's not comfortable here. I don't like the feeling here, but I need to be in this space in order for me to be able to transcend what's going on here and make the changes necessary in order for me to evolve, in order for me to grow, in order for me to move forward in my life. And so working through the shadow has been such a gift for me, because it has highlighted certain aspects of my life that I, quite honestly, have always played victim in. And I think we all do a very good job at playing victim unconsciously. It's not always conscious. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes I find just in my dialogue with people that we play victim unconsciously. We don't really realize, because we don't have the full awareness of the things that are hindering us, and the things that we play part in, the things that we have a role in, that we're taking active, an active role in each and every day. We don't really have awareness around that. So therefore, I think it's always easy to project that outwardly and say, hey, it's something else's fault. It's someone else's fault. It's these circumstances are the reason why I act the way I do, or I've been, dealt the hand that I've been dealt with in life, without really taking the proper, accountability to what it is that we're contributing to that aspect of ourselves. And this is why I say the shadow has been an area where I've seen a lot of opportunity of growth in people, including myself. I've had first-hand experience at working through my shadow, and I am actively, continually working through my shadow. This is something that I thoroughly have come to enjoy, because I think it provides you, a pathway into the things that you think are seemingly impossible to overcome. It highlights these areas very clearly and puts them right in front of you. So yes, you have to be prepared sometimes to feel shocked that you've played such a role in some of the things that may be impacting you without knowing it. And yes, you have to be prepared to be brutally honest with yourself. And that's part of the self-love that I talk about now, is really taking that self-accountability and self-responsibility to say, you know what? I have had an active role in this, and I can also have an active role in overcoming this and taking some steps, practical steps perhaps, to overcome whatever it is that's going on with me. I am empowered. I have the tools to do the work, and I know where to begin. I know it's doable. And that's what I think the shadow highlights. It's not that you realize how stuck you are. I think it highlights that, hey, this is the area where you may have felt stuck, but there's a pathway, there's a gateway out of this area, because now you cannot seemingly change anything that you're not aware of. We can't change what we don't know, right? And so I think bringing the awareness and taking accountability, right? And making the conscious effort to make those changes is what is going to bring about that change that you're desiring. So self-love to me is twofold, right? It's the good things, to pamper yourself, feel good, pour into yourself, go out, have fun, laugh, do the things that bring you more joy. Yay. Spend time, hang out with friends, speak words of affirmations, love, and speak, speak love to yourself, right? Speak in loving manners and loving tones to yourself. Speak life into your existence. All of those feel good things. But it's also looking at yourself and making those hard decisions and taking those difficult steps to make the changes that you know are so needed, that are in dire need of your action steps, right? That's also self-love. So there you have it, guys. I just wanted to give you guys a different perspective of what I understand self-love to be for myself, from my firsthand experience at just working on myself. And hopefully this was enlightening to you guys as well, in some way. I always like to say that. And I really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in to this episode. And hopefully, you guys walk away from this with something that you can do for yourself in regards to self-love. And perhaps there's a difficult decision that you need to make. Maybe there's a difficult conversation that needs to be had. Maybe it's just a difficult realization that you've had recently, and you feel empowered now to know that you can overcome that, and you do have the tools to be able to do the work that is required. And that's also considered self-love. I think when we look at things, it's also important to look at it from a very healthy perspective, not just from a negative standpoint. So I think hopefully this episode was helpful to you guys in that way. And I am excited to bring you guys another episode next week. Hopefully on another awesome topic like this one. But until then, as always, love and light, peace and blessings. And I wish you guys an amazing weekend. And I can't wait to reconnect with you guys on my next episode. Okay? All right, guys. Bye.